everyone, and welcome to Yoga with Ana here at the People's Congregation of Shakers and Movers. I do have someone in studio today, so welcome, and welcome to you guys practicing at home. So month of February. So gosh, I always have Sandy here with me, so it's kind of like I miss her. So hi to Sandy. I know where you are, and I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I miss you guys. And I think that everyone will benefit from this little, the beginning of what I'm going to be talking about here right now. So I did turn to my Heart Talk by Cleo Wade this month, the month of February, the month of love. But this vibe of love that we carry through the month of February should be carried through the entire year. Just like November, the month of gratitude, Thanksgiving, carrying throughout the year. Because when we switch when we shift into gratitude, when we shift into love, so much changes. And I've been talking a lot about heart-centered practices that stem from the heart center. So I would have loved to have us start on our backs, but I'm going to show you something that you can do at home. I think I'll start that way when I begin the physical practice. But I wanted to begin to talk about superpowers that we have, because we all have these amazing superpowers. And it's not like eating your super greens where you need to put it inside your body. You already have these superpowers. You just have to come to the awareness that they're there and that they're accessible at any time. And you know that if you're practicing with me, I'm going to always ask you to ask yourself what it is that you need today. So that is part of our superpower. So Cleo Wade speaks saying, she writes, knowing your needs is a superpower. Our world often tells us that there is something wrong with needing something or someone, or that expressing our needs is somehow a sign of weakness. This is completely untrue. Knowing our needs is a limitless power, one that can help us make all the big decisions in life. When we know what we need from a partner, we spend much less time dating the wrong people. When we know what we need to feel challenged and motivated by our work, we are much more tuned into what we want our career path to look like. When we know what we need in order to be our best selves, we are much better at showing up as that person in our relationships with our friends and family. Be unapologetic when it comes to your needs. They are, at the very least, deserving of being seen and heard. So, what are your needs today? And I'm so grateful that I asked that, because we all have a tendency to forget ourselves and put everybody else's needs ahead of our own, right? And if we do not tend to our own needs, how do we give back? It's the same as filling our cup. So as the Self Care Doula, the advocate of self-care, always asking yourself or taking a moment to just ponder what it is you need. And maybe not having like an immediate answer, because we have lots of needs. And sometimes, like the obvious one here is that those that are tapping into yoga, I need to stretch my body, so your body will need something. But we are layered beings. So within our different layers, we need different things. Our emotions, our mental body to calm down, our mind. So we need some of that calmness, our physical body, getting into our body, and accessing a little bit of stillness maybe to center and ground ourselves, which we will do here. So you may have the immediate answer of what the obvious is, the obvious need you may need right now, but something else might come in, as she talks about relationships and other things. you might start to think of other things that will begin to come in. And that's the beauty of this practice, is that as you continue to practice, what bubbles up in your practice may not be staring you right at the face as an obvious answer. With time, the body begins to release answers, or your whole being begins to release answers. So, like I said, that's what's beautiful about this practice, is that we may not know now, but maybe in a whim of the day, you might all of a sudden get this clarity and you're like, whoa, I need that. So let's try to tap into our needs and take care of ourselves. And by that, we'll begin with our physical body, emotional body, and our breath body. So sitting in a chair, if you're practicing at home in a chair or here, beginning to ground in. This is a practice that I do because if you are like me, going from one thing to the other, centering becomes very important. So I'm in happy, easy pose or Sukhasana, and I'm going to invite you to soften your gaze or close your eyes. And let's begin to tap into the natural rhythm of our breath, in and out the nose. Your heart rate might be racing right now, or it might be calm. Your mind may also be racing, tapping into thought to thought, or what is next on your list. So let's let all of that go. If you agree with me, I think the most important thing is being here right now, completely present with yourself. Hands can relax on the lap. And maybe one of the things that you may need today is some grounding. So I invite you to place your hands palms down if that's what you think you may benefit from today. Palms up if you are in a place to energetically receive. You're always invited into a Gyan Mudra with the index fingers and thumbs touching, 3 additional fingers extended outward, palms up lightly resting on your lap. Feeling the flow of breath in and out the nose. And as you begin to tap into the breath, bringing the awareness to the base of the spine, the sits bones, maybe taking a little wiggle there to feel the 2 pelvic points connect to your mat or your chair. Bringing the awareness to your shoulders and letting the shoulders relax, draw them towards the earth. Awareness to the crown of the head as you lengthen towards the sky to create space in the spine, to begin to let that energy travel up and down the Sushumna, that vein of life, and letting the life force travel up and down the spine. So as you envision the breath coming in, envision the breath coming in down to the base of the spine, grounding you in towards the earth center, rooting down, keeping you safe and steady. As you exhale, drawing that breath up the spine, through the crown, reaching up towards the sky, towards the ether, connecting the groundedness and the element of air and balancing both harmoniously. hands can stay where they are, or if you would like to bring them into Anjala Mudra at the heart center, inviting you to set an intention for your practice this morning or this afternoon. Remembering that it is intention that drives our actions, and it is these intentions we carry through our practice and take with us into our daily lives. All drawing a deep breath in together and a slow exhale out. Swallowing at the back of our throats, moistening our lips and sealing them, fluttering our eyes open. Namaste, everyone, and welcome. I'm so grateful to be here today. Let's inhale, draw the palms up together, and on the exhale, press everything away. Inhale, palms rise. Let your palms touch, palms come to heart. Take a moment here to really feel those thumbs connect to the sternum. It's like they nuzzle, they're meant to be right there. Gently press the sternum forward. Inhale, palms come up again, and exhale, let everything go. We're going to do that one more time. Inhale, palms come up, and exhale, draw them back to heart. All right, so let's release. What I was going to invite you to do, so one of the things that I've been practicing today is opening the heart center. So one of the things that we can do is if you have a block or a bolster, and I'll explain both seated and lying down. So if you are, I think I can illustrate it this way. So if you have a bolster or a block, just making sure that you have some firmness, and even if you have an extra yoga mat, you can place the yoga mat lengthwise and lie down. So if you have a block, placing the block right between the shoulder blades. But you can also, so my head's going to drape here if that's comfortable for you. Otherwise, adjust your block. Your bolster will support you all the way down to the base of the spine. So this might feel uncomfortable because we're all very tight in the chest. And what this is doing is allowing the chest to open. So I want to invite this posture here, and I'm going to roll off the blocks to speak to you. So if you have some way of incorporating this into your practice today, I would love to have that opportunity for you to drape over something. So I'm going to explain how to do it in the chair. So, feet are still about hip distance apart, and you're going to scoot a little bit forward in the chair. In the chair, I'm going to have you lay back and let the shoulders drape. So letting the head fall and the arms drape, and the angle of the body is going to support the openness of the chest. If it gets a little bit uncomfortable, then you can adjust and then fall back. So if you have the opportunity to, again, drape over a block or a bolster, and these can be any way, and legs can be any way. You can butterfly them, or I'm actually going to remove the lower block and just keep the one between my shoulder blades. So this is pressing the sternum forward, opening the chest, and it's going to feel really uncomfortable at first. So breathing into this heart space, or breathing into the sensations, and exhaling is going to allow you to drape and get heavy and open up the chest more. So we all have a tendency to look at our phones. We're constantly hunched over. We're looking down. Our shoulders have a tendency to begin to round forward, so this allows the pressing, so the support between the blades to press our chest forward. And then as our shoulders round in these positions that we get used to, our heart begins to close. So that's why every once in a while it's good to just take a restorative position, just so you can allow your heart and chest to open up and receive. So let's take a few moments here. Again, if you're on the chair, I'm kind of looking at you upside down. But if you're on the chair, just adjusting or just relaxing into the posture. Taking a few deep breaths. As you do that, you'll begin to feel the fascia release and the chest opens up. And if you're in this position, I'm going to show you how to roll off, just as you saw me a little moment ago. There is a safe way to get yourself back up to seated as opposed to just lifting your body up in a forward motion. So I'm going to bend my right leg here and I'm going to come onto my left side and I'm just going to roll off. So you can roll off either side. And this is what I ask you at the end of Shavasana. So rolling off and then since I rolled off to my left side, I'm using my right hand to gently press myself, then my left, and come all the way to seated. All right, so that is a beautiful way to open up the heart space. Did you feel that? So I have Kristen here who's doing yoga in a chair, so she was able to drape over the chair and feel that same benefit. And it just opens and takes that roundedness away from the shoulders. So if that's something that we're constantly like this and the neck is forward, it's always doing the opposite of what the body's doing is a benefit to the body. And it's a benefit to our emotional body as well. All right, so let's get into tabletop. We're going to get into cat-cow to warm up the spine. So coming into tabletop, stacking the shoulders over the wrists, spreading the fingers nice and wide. And if you're seated, hands on your lap. At table, we are stacking the hips over the knees. On the next breath, on the inhale, I'm going to drop the belly and take the gaze up. If you are in a chair, you're going to press the heart forward and take the gaze up. On the exhale, I'm going to round the spine, chin's going to move towards my chest, and I'm going to tuck the tail, pressing into the mat. So rounding the spine. Inhale, drop the belly, take the gaze up. Exhale, chin moves towards the chest, tucking the tail, rounding the spine. So let's continue back and forth, warming up the spine. As we get into our practice, allowing ourselves to get into our bodies, maybe taking the sense of sight away while you tap into your breath as you sync the breath with the movement. And then we're going to come to center. From here, let's take a nice deep breath in, bring the hips back, and we're going to shift the hips forward. Shifting back and shifting forward. So what we're going to do and what this can translate into the chair is as you're seated, you can begin to move the body. And this is what I always love about this practice, and what I love to bring into the practice is that intuitiveness of movement with your body. So just taking a moment here to move your body the way you feel like moving. So this allows us to take a moment to listen to our bodies and figure out what it wants to do. So maybe, I would start us off with shifting the hips back and forth. And if you're seated, you can take the torso around and do torso circles. You can bring the shoulders into it. On the mat, it's the same thing. So just a different position, bringing the hips around in a circular motion. So I'm just giving you ideas of how maybe you can move the body or how you feel when you feel like moving the body. But really, it's your practice and it's your movement. So if you feel like doing what I'm doing, by all means. But if you feel like getting into a down dog or going into a child's pose, maybe that's what your body wants. And if you want to stay there, that's okay too. So shifting my hips forward, shifting my hips back. Now my body's telling me to shift my hands forward. And then I'm going to take a gentle dip of my hips towards the mat and bring them side to side. Maybe taking the gaze up or curling the toes, lifting the knees up. Maybe going into a down dog. Maybe taking a walk if you're in down dog. Bring the knees down. Maybe moving the neck and the head gently. Drawing nose circles if that feels good to you. Maybe moving the rib cage from one side to the other side, or maybe even taking a peek at your feet to move the body in another way. All right, so from here, let's come back to our tabletop and we're going to gently open up the backs of the shoulders. So what I would recommend seated, what we're going to do is thread the needle this way, right, to open up the backs of the shoulders. For seated, you can open up the backs of the shoulders by giving yourself a hug, remembering what arm goes underneath, and when we do the other side, switching arms that way. Okay, so on the hands and knees and tabletop, making sure that we're nice and even, and then take a peek at your feet because sometimes your feet have a mind of their own and they can turn in. So align your feet. On the next breath, inhale, right arm's going to rise, and then exhale, I'm going to weave it under my left, drop my right shoulder and my right temple. I'm going to walk my left hand to extend forward. And I'm just going to breathe into this sensation in the back of the shoulder. So staying here for just a few breaths before, if you're tempted at all to move the left arm, I would just ask that you wait for a few breaths and then you can take a different position with the left arm, and I will show you that next. So now that I've been in this position for a few breaths, I'm going to extend my left arm up and bring it behind my back to open up the front of the left shoulder. That's if you want to do that. You don't have to. You can leave that left arm nice and relaxed. But it's always nice to have options. So take that breath into the back body, back rib cage, and feel the back of the rib cage expand. then relax the body as you exhale. Inhale, bring the breath into the back rib cage. And exhale, let it all melt away. All right. So I'm going to gently press myself up, bringing my left hand back in towards me. Inhaling that right arm back up. And then floating that arm down. And then we're going to do the other side. So take your time. And we'll move into the next side. Join me when you're ready. Inhale that left arm up. Exhale, leave it underneath the right. Bring that left shoulder down, left temple down. Extend the right arm forward. And hang out here for a few breaths. So once settled in here, you can, if you want to, begin to move the right arm and the elbow, bring it behind you to open up that front shoulder. But you don't have to do that. You can just bring the hand back and keep it extended. All depends on what you want to feel. All right, so let's release here. I'm going to bring in my right hand to gently lift myself up and inhale that left arm up and move that arm down and back to tabletop we go. So getting into a wide-legged child pose, let's bring the knees to the width of the mat and the hips are going to drop down towards the heels. And I'm going to extend my arms forward and gently bring myself to a wide-legged child's pose. You can ground your eye here, your third eye. You can also rest your forehead on a block. Sometimes when you're really tight in the shoulders and in the hips don't want to draw down, it'll feel really tight to bring the forehead all the way to the mat. So resting your head on a block. And then if you're in a chair, you can forward fold here. Maybe taking a ragdoll if that feels good. However it feels like you can get into your hips as you're seated. So in this position, my hands are nice and wide and I'm gripping the mat. What I'm going to do is press into the mat, like I'm pulling the mat towards me, and then I'm pressing my hips towards my heels. So I'm feeling a stretch in my underarms and upper back, and then I'm also feeling a stretch in the hips. Next breath, walk your hands up, walk your hands back towards your knees, bring your knees closer together and come all the way to your table. All right, let's curl the toes under. We're going to come into a downward facing dog. So, Kristen, if you want to take downward dog, you can, if that feels good to you. A few nice deep breaths here. Maybe exhaling through the mouth. Maybe walking your dog. Heels do not have to touch the mat, but extending the heels towards the mat to really get into the backs of the legs will help. Feel your heart press towards the thighs. And really have your hands are nice and wide. Let's bring the heels up and bend the knees deeply. Take a hover. And then let's walk our feet to meet our hands. Come to a forward fold at the top of your mat. Let's ragdoll here. You can grab elbow to elbow or let your arms dangle. Releasing the lower back. You can bend the knees as much as it feels good to you. your eyes open so that way you stay balanced. I'm going to release my arms. I can keep them dangled. I'm releasing the shoulders, releasing the neck, maybe taking a nod, a gaze to the left, to the right. On the next breath, let's place our hands on our shins, come to a flat back. Take a breath here and notice your shoulders. Bring your shoulders away from your ears, pull the navel in. Next breath, let's inhale, root to rise, come all the way up. Let's touch the palms together and palms come to heart. All right, inhale, palms rise again. Let's reach back and exhale, let's swan dive down. Let's bend one knee after the other. Inhale, hands on the shins, and then exhale. Let's plant the palms and bring that right leg back. We're going to come into a low lunge. So you can come to a high lunge, a warrior one position in your chair. So essentially just taking a step back, bending the front knee, and you can keep the hands on the hips. And if you're standing, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to shift back and shift forward. Shift back and shift forward. So you can do it just like this on the mat or standing. So we're just engaging the hip joints here. So just getting that, or even tilting the hip forward and tilting the hip back gently, just to keep that little motion there. In this low lunge, planting my palms down or bringing in blocks to lift the floor to ease the movement of the body. And then let's shift back, extend that front leg. Maybe tilting the foot. And then gently come back, stack the knee over the ankle. Let's bring that left hand inside the foot. So while you're standing, what you're going to do is this. Yeah. So we're going to open up on the right side. So on the mat, left hand comes into the instep of that left foot. Inhale that right arm up. So on the mat, ground that left foot in. A few breaths here, and then let's float that on down. Heel toe that foot out. Same thing. And then gently leaning in, extend. You can extend that leg back. Kristen, if that doesn't feel good, I think that I would stay just with the wide angle, just to, the goal is to open up that left hip. So you don't have to, there's nothing super fancy, right? You're just gently, as the standing allows you to just gently dip into that hip. And that's what we want for a gentle practice, right? And this is also gentle depending on how you're viewing it. It's a slow practice. And I'm just easing into the hip right now. So you're okay right here where you are. You're also okay when you lift the floor and begin to lower down to get into that hip a little bit more. If your body wants to go down a little lower or allows you to go lower, you can. Maybe tilting that foot out. I think that it just depends on what you feel or what you want to feel. But I think even keeping it grounded is okay if you're doing this standing. So the sensations will ease with the breath. Sometimes I even like to stack my wrists and rest my forehead if I don't have blocks. So now I'm just going to gently lift up, heel toe my foot back to center, realigning yourself. And then we're going to open up on the left side. Inhale that left arm up, opening up the heart, and then floating the arm down. Inhale both arms up, ground the feet in, reach back, and then open up. We're going to open up and let the arms fall. We're going to open up to the left side. So if you're feeling wobbly, check your anchors, which are, if you're on the mat or standing, that front foot's really going to ground in. Inhale, arms come up again, parallel to the ears. And this time, let's drape the arms down, float the arms down. Let's reach back, open up the chest here. So if it's accessible, interlacing the fingers, drawing the shoulders back as you bring the wrist towards the back of the mat, and taking the gaze up, pressing the hips forward. And on the next breath, beginning to come up, release the bind, and arms will rise, arms will float down on the exhale. All right, from here, let's curl the toes under that back foot. Let's bring that back foot forward, and we're going to forward fold. So ease into that. It's okay to come from here and slowly bring that leg back. Don't feel like you have to take that big step. Let's forward fold. Inhale, hands on the shins. Come to your flat back, half lift, and then root to rise. Come all the way back up. Palms touch, palms come to heart. So notice how that left hip feels. Inhale, arms come up again. Look up at the palms. Let's reach back. And exhale, swan back down. Inhale, hands on the shins. And then let's root to rise again. Come all the way back up. Palms touch, palms come to heart. Chair pose. Inhale, arms come up, parallel to the ears. And let's sit in our pretend chair. Breathing in and out the nose. Gaze is forward. Arms are lifted, chest is lifted. Shift the weight to the back of the heels. Ground those toes. Tuck the tail and maybe sit a little lower. If the tail pops up again, slightly tuck. Pull the navel in. The last breath. Palms touch, palms come to heart, and let's forward fold. Inhale, hands on the shins, come to your flat back, and then plant the palms. This time, left foot is going to step back. And then we're going to begin that shift again. Shifting forward and shifting back. How's that feeling? Good? Maybe coming into that half splits. Shifting forward and shifting back. And then come to stack the knee over the ankle. Let's open up on the right side. Inhale, right arm raises up high. And then float that arm back down. Let's open up on the left side too. Inhale, left arm. Open up the chest on the left side. Ground that front foot and then float that arm down. Now let's bring that right hand inside the instep of that right foot and heel toe that foot out to the edge of the mat. So if you're on the mat, you're going to extend that left leg back. So Kristen, just bring your toes a little more towards me. So yes, perfect. So from here, beginning to feel your hip a little bit more deeply. And just breathing through the sensations. But be gentle. The hips do hold a lot of emotion. The root and sacral chakra lie there, and the root chakra in the base of the spine, the sacral chakra below the navel, right where the sex organs are. So there's a lot of emotion that is held here, and I'd say that the majority of folks have very tight hips. So emotions can be held there for, if you never do a practice like this and live with tight hips, that's tough. So you don't get an opportunity to release the hips. This gives you the opportunity to release some emotions. And I'm not saying release emotions like crying your mat right now or anything like that. You could definitely take a ha-ha and laugh on your mat. But, you know, when you do these practices, sometimes things that might bubble up on the mat that you may not feel immediately can bubble up elsewhere. I've busted out crying behind the wheel of my car while I'm crying, you know. Sometimes that happens. Pull over if you need to. But just taking those deep breaths and knowing that those are emotions that are okay to release. All emotions sometimes bubble up that way, and that's okay. Remember, it's okay to not be okay. But releasing and not bottling them up is very important. All right, so from here, maybe tilting that foot out if that feels good. And then gently pressing yourself back up. Heel toeing that right foot in, bracketing the foot. Let's take a shift back and a shift forward just to release the hip. And then let's come back to stacking that front knee over the ankle, and let's inhale. Let's inhale the right arm up, open up the right side of the chest. Exhale, float it down. Inhale, both arms up, reach back. And then we're going to open up on the right side. So a little twist here. Ground that front foot. Bring the arms back. Take a nice deep breath in. Bring the arms back parallel to the ears, facing forward. And exhale, float the arms down, bracketing that back foot. So let's curl the toes under of that back foot if you're on the mat and begin to shift that back foot to meet the front. So again, remember, I'm not expecting you to do it like me all in one whim. You can definitely take little steps to bring that back foot forward, forward, forward. Inhale, hands on the shins, coming to your half lift and root to rise. Come all the way back up. Palms touch. Exhale, palms come to heart. And just take a moment here to bring some love to your hips, noticing how they feel. And just take a moment to close your eyes. And I often welcome you to close your eyes because that's what brings your gaze inward and allows you to feel your body differently if there's something that you may be curious about after a movement. All right, let's do our favorite tree pose. We're going to shift the weight over to that left leg. So a strong standing leg, kickstand that right foot onto the ankle, perfectly okay to ground the feet. Now, if you've been doing this for a while and the toes have been grounding, you can bring a block in to do the same thing, and it lifts the floor up, so that will bring the foot up towards the calf, and it'll open up the hip a little bit more. Otherwise, placing the foot on the ankle, calf, or inner thigh, never on the knee. Keeping that standing leg nice and strong. Chest is nice and lifted, navel pulled in and up, shoulders drawn down towards the earth. Focus. You got a mean focus going on here. And if you wobble out, that's okay. You just get back in. When you're ready, lifting the arms up above the head. Maybe playing, separating the arms, expanding, and playing with the balance. So I've definitely wobbled out many times. You just get back in. Make it a fun practice. It's not serious. And then hands come together, hands come to heart, and we release. So again, if you've been grounding your toes for a while, and you have a block or a stack of books, you can bring the block between the feet to position your foot in this way differently. So just options. Options are good. So I'll leave the block there just so you can take the visual. Hands at the heart center. And we're going to shift the weight over to the left side. Is it the left side? Right side. The right side. Pull the navel in, lengthen through the crown. Strong standing leg. And kickstand that left foot onto the ankle, onto the block, calf, or inner thigh. Again, strong standing leg, which means that the thigh is going to continue to contract to hold that foot in place. It's pressing into the sole of the foot. So a lot's going on in this posture. That's why it's okay to wobble out, because when you bring the focus is a practice. The way you hold the body is a practice. The way you lift your arms is all in the practice. Expanding. So if you continue to practice, you'll notice that your focus is going to get better and better. Balance is going to get better and better. Your strength is going to increase. And of course, overall, you'll have a calmer heart. Let's bring the hands back together. Hands come to heart center. And let's release. My balance isn't always on point. And it also depends on the month, the moon. Everything affects the energy. All those things affect the balance as well. So let's inhale the arms up. Let's reach back. Exhale, swan dive down, forward fold. Inhale, hands on the knees. And then let's exhale, plant the palms, bring both feet back, come into a plank, and then come to a down dog. And let's breathe. Take a nice deep breath in and out. Again, walk the feet towards the hands, forward fold, and let's root to rise. Come all the way. Palms touch, palms come to heart. So we're going to do breath of joy. So it's interesting. There is one way to do breath of joy, but there's a particular way that I do it. Usually breath of joy is done in one breath, which is inhaling 3 times and then hauling it out. So like that. But I like using a couple of breaths because it's very invigorating and I've gotten a lot of great feedback from it. So I know it might be different than maybe another breath of joy that might be out there. But this is how I like to do it. So, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of like conducting your breath. So I'm going to demonstrate first on the inhale. We're going to reach up, exhale, inhale, and wait. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and then high it out. So inhale, exhale, inhale, and then ha through the mouth. Okay, so we're going to do that 3 times. Ready? Inhale. Exhale, inhale, ha. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, inhale, ha. Inhale. Exhale, inhale, ha. And then reach up, 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 up. Let those those fingertips reach up towards the sky. Maybe close your eyes and just notice your subtle body. Flip the palms and slowly begin to float the arms down. Noticing the shift of energy as they come all the way down. And that was breath of joy. So keep that sensation with you. Let's take another deep breath in, stretch up, come onto the toes, and then exhale, come all the way down. So we can go back to seated. I'm going to transition us back to the mat. So let's inhale, arms come up, look up at the palms, let's reach back, and exhale, swan dive down for your forward fold. Inhale, hands on the shins, come to your half lift. Exhale, plant the palms, bring both feet back to your plank. Gently shift to a down dog. Breathe and release, and then bring the knees down. Come to a child's pose. So you can come to a wide-legged or just an extended child's pose. Legs together, knees together. And then let's gently walk our hands towards our knees. Shift the hips and swing the legs around. All right, so let's extend the legs forward and flex the feet. Dandasana, so sitting nice and straight, lengthening through the crown, pulling the navel in, shoulders back, press the sternum forward. So notice how this can translate in a chair. You can extend the legs or stay in a nice mountain pose. Inhale, arms come up parallel to the ears. Option here to grab the outsides of the feet or peace finger your toes, which I love to do. So you can do this or you can peace finger. And take an inhale, lengthen through the crown. Exhale, bend the elbows, flex the feet. If you're on the mat, take a moment to gently press those calves into the mat. A practice of lifting and flexing the feet. Inhale, lengthen through the crown. Exhale, hinge. And release. Inhale the arms up. And exhale, lower down. All right, let's bend the knees. And we're going to extend so I can come all the way down, making sure that your head lands on the mat. I'm going to scoot down. Beautiful. Let's bring both knees into the chest. If you're in a chair, take one knee after the other. So you can give a squeeze here. Tuck the chin, shoulders draw away from the ears towards the mat. Then let's release, and then hands on the knees and begin to rotate the knees in one direction and for the opposite direction. All right, from here, full body stretch, extend the legs, extend the arms over the head. And then let's draw that right knee into the chest. Flex both feet. Get a nice tight squeeze, and then guide that knee to the right shoulder. Tuck the chin. Bring it back to center. Full body stretch again. And left knee draws into the chest. Flex both feet. Draw that knee towards the left shoulder. Breathing nice and deep, flexing both feet. And release. Full body stretch. Alright, from here, bring the arms into a T. Bend the knees. And then let's windshield wiper the knees back and forth to release the hips back and forth. So in the chair, you can just shift back and forth, move the hips a little bit. And then let's let them fall over to the right side. My gaze is going to go to my left fingertips, and my right ankle is going to come and rest on my left thigh. So a little opposite movement here, a little twist to complement our practice. Help release our lower back if there's any lower back pain. Okay, so let's release here, bring the knees back, feet are flat, and then windshield wiper again. And let them fall over to the left side. Gazes to the right fingertips. My left ankle is going to rest on my right, the outside of my right thigh. And take a few deep breaths. Beautiful modifications. Then let's release. Windshield wiper again, just to release the hips and the lower back. And then extend the legs, full body stretch one more. And then float the arms down, let your palms face up. And then the arms by your side, let the toes fall open. And begin to release the body. And let your body feel supported by the earth. And if you've just noticed my shoulders, I encourage this practice. I have created a habit of tucking my shoulders underneath my body when I'm in Shavasana, and that helps open the collarbone, helps open up my arms more. So it opens up the heart center to receive. And as we're receiving here, we're also absorbing all of the benefits of this awesome practice. So let's release with the exhale anything that no longer is serving. Inhaling all of the benefits that you have absorbed from all the movement and hard work that you've done on your mat or chair. And just a quick reminder that if you've never practiced chair, are curious about yoga, or don't want to go into a studio, just take a peek at our videos on the YouTube channel. There's lots of videos there that can intro you to a chair yoga practice or just a practice in general. Just let the body sink in. Let your jawline relax. Release the brows and the cheeks, and let the back of the tongue feel heavy. So let's roll over to let's bring awareness back into the body. I'm getting ahead of myself. Wiggle your toes and your fingers. And then I'm going to roll over to my right side. When you're ready, gently pressing yourself up and joining me back in seated. Hands at the heart center. Join me in bringing your prayer hands up to your third eye as we seal our practice to think kind thoughts down in front of our lips as a reminder to speak kind words, and back down in front of our hearts as a reminder to live life with love, joy, grace, and inner strength. So from my heart to yours, thank you so much for letting me guide your practice today. Namaste.